Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SATV's special edition on global affairs, international top headlines, and especially focused on recent incidents in South Asia, India-Pakistan tensions. I have a very distinguished panelist today. I will have Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. I will have our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, and from Washington DC, Mr. Floyd Norman will join us to give updates on Donald Trump's series of Middle East countries trip and the achievements, and he will be with us from Washington DC. First, let me hear from our international affairs commentator Mr. Shamsul Alam Pantho. What you have in your list to talk about today's program?
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. A very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin, and a very lovely afternoon to our viewers. Today I will begin my talk with a regional issue regarding, in this case it's called our program India-Pakistan, but as of last night I should mention India and China. According to Times of India, ANI, WION and Indian news agencies, China had started renaming specific cities in the state called Arunachal Pradesh, which China also refers as the Zhangnan region. After such a naming of the various cities, the Indian MEA Sri Randhir Jaiswal said it was a direct provocation and that the Chinese comments were vain and preposterous. Apart from this issue of India and China, we can bring you Donald Trump's second day visit into Qatar. He was very warmly welcomed by the Emir of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and during this time Donald Trump was given a very warm welcome, and he attended a state dinner, and this would be the very first visit by an American president into the Qatari soil. Aside from that, they both have inked a $200 billion deal regarding aeroplanes. And of course, this brought some criticism to Mr. Donald Trump in his own home soil. However, apart from this, we can also bring you U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit at the NATO foreign ministers meeting. This is on the sidelines of the Ukraine-Russia war and how to de-escalate that situation.
So I can add one more issues with you. China warns UK over UK and US trade deal.
Yes.
This is very interesting. China has expressed strong concerns over a recent UK-US trade agreement, suggesting it could marginalize Chinese products and Chinese business, including Chinese investments, especially in technology sectors. The UK government straight denies that the deal gives the US a veto over Chinese activities. Let me come back to our very distinguished Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. You have been keenly watching, observing, and also speaking on the Pakistan-India issue recently. We have seen in different media outlets, you writes about international affairs, you reads on international affairs, you teach international affairs. Now you will have to talk about international affairs. Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin.
Thank you very much. But what is it that you want me to speak on, particularly the India-Pakistan issue at this point?
Exactly, India-Pakistan latest updates and developments, diplomatic moves.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, like we all, but not only in South Asia, but I think across the world, we all welcome the ceasefire that has taken place between India and Pakistan. And it was something which the world and we in South Asia were holding our breaths, because if you look at the power dynamics of the two countries and the kind of rhetorics that were playing around, and I have pointed this out several times, that the war was being, or the battle was being, I wouldn't call it a full-blown war. It was a battle, or a, not something which was more than a conflict, but less than a full-blown war. It was being fought on at two levels. One was the social media level, and the other was
in the battlefield.
The actual physical battle which was taking place. Very interestingly, one observed certain things. that while I mean, this is where I would say that Pakistan, India has a strange kind of a dynamic in their relationship. At one level, their people connect very strongly. But at another level, it's at the state level, I mean, there is this war hysteria, there is an ongoing rhetoric. So one has to make clear, draw the lines between what is a rhetoric and what is a policy. But sometimes when there is too much rhetoric, that transforms into a kind of a policy because there is public pressure. And regimes, across the borders, we have seen, irrespective of their varied varied motives, they are sometimes trapped into a situation where they have no exit out but to physically engage themselves in a battle. So it was kind of a situation. I mean, I wouldn't in any way undermine the situation on the or what had happened in between India and Pakistan, but I'm saying that one has to keep in context these two levels. Because in the social media, we were saying that the memes, Facebooks, there were laughters, there were jokes, and people were trying to, dampen the situation, severity of the situation, and trying to create an environment where one could also have fun. So it also shows the psychological impact or the psychological damage that war does to us, apart from the physical damage and the $18 billion per day that the expenses that were being incurred by the countries, and these countries cannot afford this kind of expenses, and one has to look at the poverty level between the two countries. On the other hand, what happened in Pahalgam is definitely condemnable. I mean, there is no denying that it is condemnable, but this time, I mean, Pakistan took the advantage of the fact that India did not, there was no international investigation of this. Though India has its own, argument or its points on this, that earlier there were investigations, India had given them dossiers after dossiers, but Pakistan never conceded to it or never accepted it. But this time Pakistan was more or less open, and India. And also one has to consider, if you want me to stop, I'll stop. Should I stop now?
No, go ahead.
So this time also, these were the issues. Pahalgam was condemnable, and the way it was carried out, and the way it was, on the part of the terrorists also, it was communalized. I mean, you could see that they were not simply targeting the civilians. I mean, they made a difference between who is a Hindu, who is not a Hindu. I think this is something so regrettable and so condemnable, one can't even express in words. Having said that, I also want to make the point that that region is like almost 20 kilometers inside Kashmir, and Indian side of Kashmir. And India had opened it up for the area for tourists, but there should have been some security arrangements for that. And these people, only 4 or 5 came in, and they, they went back. There was no attack. Not a single person was caught or killed, and they just went back. I mean, this was a serious intelligence as well as security lapse on the part of India. That is there. And also, like India, I think it's time that the Indian government also reflects upon the internal situation in Kashmir, because after the removal of Article 370, there are internal discontents in Kashmir. I mean, this is something governments need to acknowledge. I mean, in South Asia, we have found that governments never acknowledge their own limitations and what they have done and not. And, factor in address those discontents. Otherwise, incidents like this will keep on happening, and this cannot be an ongoing incident or occurrence that something happens and you blame another country. I'm not saying that I'm not giving Pakistan a clean sheet over here at all. But all I am saying or trying to say is that there should have been an open, transparent investigation of
Very
this.
well explained, Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. I want to draw our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantha's attention on this particular, but we will be discussing it later on in the last part of the program. I want to draw your attention on the Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Today, he is moving into UAE. What is the takeaway? He wants to get back to Washington.
Thank you for your question. Actually, it's not only just business deals or trade deals that Mr. Trump is initiating in the Gulf countries. I'll give you an example. Before arriving at the Lusail Palace in Qatar, Donald Trump and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia initiated a meeting between the Syrian interim leader Ahmed al-Shara. As the media suggested that he used to be a fighter for the liberation and the overturning government in Syria. So right now, the Western world and its leader Donald Trump is giving avid opportunity for Syria to strike once again, come back in a very stronger form. And this comes in as Donald Trump's trade and also political meetings with various leaders in the Middle East. It is helping the regional peace in the region. And I would say that today he is moving towards UAE. UAE, as you know, the India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, we all three countries have a very nice relationship with the Arab Emirates, and I believe that there would be further trade deals between the UAE. However, this is a very exuberant week for diplomacy worldwide. As you know, a ceasefire was negotiated earlier this week between India and Pakistan. Of course, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, had a major part in this ceasefire, even though the ceasefire has been very fragile. Not only that, Donald Trump is being a topic of criticisms to his opponents in America as well, as the $200 billion plane deal I said earlier. Even though it is Donald Trump claiming to the seat of POTUS, the President of the United States of America, the plane or whatever the deal is from the Qatari side, it should stay as a state aircraft for next or future presidents to come.
Thank you very much, Shamsul Alam Pantho. We have got a connection with Washington, DC, United States of America, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes. He is on the line. Mr. Norman, can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm having technical difficulty in seeing you.
Thank you very much for joining with SATV International Affairs Special Edition. And you know, your president, Donald J. Trump, now traveling to Middle East and doing lot of meetings, agreements, sanctions, agreements and business collaborations with the Gulf region. What is the ground level reactions in Washington and entire United States of America regarding the Trump's visit in Middle East? First of all, we want to discuss about this, Mr. Norman.
Yes, first thing, good morning from Washington, D.C., early morning, and I bid everybody good health and you know, and goodwill. In Washington, we are actually, it's a mixed bag. Right now, we are very excited on the business side about the potential for the deals. The deals involve us reaching out to the rest of the world, particularly that region, and we see a lot of opportunity. The president has opened doors. Like myself, business people, we can now come over there in the different countries, the different regions, and now we see potential for growth in terms of business and also to help the region stabilize. So the biggest thing right now is that we see an opportunity here for the future, and we want to take full advantage of that and create good relationships with the different companies, the different governments, and more importantly, the people. We are in a situation here in the United States where we can't do it ourselves. We have the technology, but we also need the people, and we need actually the funds. So this is a great thing for us. We feel it's a great thing.
Mr. Norman, as we have been noticed from the reportings from the Arab news that Mr. President has signed $142 billion agreement for arms selling and $600 billion as aid. So do you think that Trump's Middle East visit is to recover the financial situation in United States of America for the 33 crore of US citizens?
So the citizens, the armed, we always concerned, particularly, in that region, we're dealing with Israel. We also still dealing with Ukraine, our Congress and the people. We have concerns about the amount of funds, the amount of resources in terms of weapons that are being utilized over in that area. But we do realize that we need to provide the necessary means in terms of funding for weapons and for the terms of security. The issue of stability, we have military bases, in Doha and that area like that, the largest in that region. We want to enhance that and make sure that everything is okay. So by having funding and money to provide this type of resources is again another positive thing. So it is not a bad situation. Of course, we do not like war, but we also like peace. So the only way we can do that is by having strong military and support for the region, so we can get these things done in terms of economic development.
Very well described, Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes. Do stay with us, and I once want to give you thanks for your contribution to SATV always. Please stay with us. Let me draw the attention of distinguished Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. Before I go to her, I want to give a development on Middle East. Israel launched a series of air attacks, barrage of air attacks against Houthi targets in Yemen following a Houthi missile attack near Ben Gurion airport, which is very southern part of the Yemen. The strikes targeted Sana'a International Airport. An international airport has been targeted to destroy the Houthi base and other strategic location, resulting in casualties and significant infrastructure damage. We have received the news just couple of minutes ago. I want to draw your attention. Mr. Donald Trump is visiting Middle East for peace talks, for business development. On the other part, Israel is continuing its barrage of strikes to neighboring Yemen. What does it mean?
Thank you very much. I mean, with all due respect to our guests from
Mr. Norman.
Yes, from America. And I'm sorry that due to a technical difficulty you can't see us. It would have been better if we could see each other and have had this conversation. But I find it pretty, paradoxical and quite contradictory that when one talks of peace and at the same time one has all the military deals, or if I may call it, the militarization of the region. I understand, in order to have peace, one has to have its defense. But at the same time, we are looking, one looks at the scenario or the situation in the Middle East, I mean, what happened in Palestine is something which has been condemned by the world at large and even by American citizens. And one has to understand that, these things, I mean, one can trade deals as well as trade deals, investments, these are okay, good gestures, and of course these are beneficial for world peace. But having air bases, having military bases, and also, as I pointed out, militarization of the entire region. And this is actually, in a way, dividing the world, and the world cannot afford another war. And I'm sure America has that capability or the means to put a stop to the activities of Israel. Because what is happening, I mean, this is just going to escalate the tensions. If you look, one takes into account the Houthis, I mean, they are not really what one would call, in the normal parlance of diplomacy, state actors. So what happens to a scenario like this? And these, and I think Middle East, it is time for the Middle Eastern countries also to understand that enough is enough, and they have to be on their own, and to look inward into their people. And also, this somehow the Cold War politics had never stopped in certain regions, and it continues in very different manners in different parts of the world, and this is what we are experiencing or seeing over there. But at the same time, what Israel is doing, this is something which is, I mean, this America has to take into cognizance that, the world opinion matters. And if one wants to be a superpower, of course, America is a major power, is a global actor, but there is a humanitarian side to it also. There are certain standards to it also. So these are something, which we expect.
I'm sure Mr. Norman is preparing himself to encounter Dr. Amina Mohsin, and Mr. Panthu also have some updates, but we will have to go for a short break. We'll be back soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SATV's special edition on international affairs focused on India-Pakistan ceasefire. I'm sure, as I said before the break, that Mr. Norman from Washington DC, he has something to debate with distinguished Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin. Norman, can you hear me, and have you heard what Professor Amina Mohsin has said? Do you have anything to add or debate?
Hello?
Yes. Norman, do you have anything?
Can you see me?
We can see you now.
Okay.
I said, Norman, do you have anything to add or debate with Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin, what she says about Trump's Middle East move?
Okay, can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you properly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Norman. Norman, give your updates about the Trump's takeaway from Middle East, and if you have anything add or debate with Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin.
Okay, now I can see you, but your voice I can't understand it. It's kind of muffled.
So you just go ahead with your comments.
Hello.
I think control, please fix the problem with audio and video mixing. Then we will come back to Norman. And now I would like to go to our international affairs commentator, Mr. Shamsul Alam Pantho. You heard what Professor Amina Mohsin says, that preparation for war or assembling the missiles and tankers cannot give a signal that world leaders are moving into peace.
I would like to bring everyone's attention that in one way or another, this it's very contradictory. In order, if you would look at it, in one place you are propagating that you're an arch for peace, but on the other side you are also providing them lethal ammunitions. So one must question every country's intention in the future, and then where will these weapons land up in. As you know, the Israel-Gaza ceasefire was also brokered by the United States administration, but then that didn't last, as the Israeli aggression towards Palestinian and Gaza continued. And in recent times, yesterday, the Houthis have claimed attack on Ben Gurion airport in a hypersonic ballistic missile strike. It would be, as per Anadolu agency, the third such attack in less than 24 hours. And the Houthis have repeatedly said that such an attack will continue until the Israeli aggression of Gaza came to a halt. As you know, it has been a long-running issue over the months, over the years. Still, there has been no ceasefire. As you know, India and Pakistan already in a very fragile ceasefire, but it's still holding. The both demographics in both countries are now celebrating out on the street. So that's a success, I would say, short-term success. However, if you would compare to the Gaza and Israel conflict, Palestine and Israel conflict, we don't see any such momentum of a ceasefire. More or less, there's being lives lost every day. So I would say that this is still a developing sphere. I guess we'll have to see where are the developments coming through, providing the Middle East with such advanced weaponry. We are now living in the times of drones and AI, and how AI can advance warfare between the nations.
I have a super breaking news right this moment. Donald Trump is busy with the trade deals with the Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar and UAE, but he has given an astonishing announcement that United States is very close to finalizing a nuclear agreement with Iran. He stated that Tehran has sort of agreed to the terms aiming for long-term peace. I personally very astonished with these comments by Donald Trump. Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin, you know the history. Donald Trump has cancelled the agreement with Iran. Now he is provoking Iran to come into the peace talks or nuclear deals. How do you see? Is he trying to shift the focus of the world people from his business into a peace talks?
You know, like if you look at, if you follow President Donald Trump's policies, his words very closely, you would see that it's full of surprises. So nothing surprises me anymore about him, because I think being surprised is the word for me. But I'm not really surprised by it, because if you look at the entire situation, I mean, if the kind of policy that America is trying to play out at this point of time is to contain China at different points, at different levels and at different areas. So in one way, engaging itself with the, you spoke about the UK US trade
Trade
deal.
deal, right.
So, and how China's response to it.
Right.
So that is understandable. Then if you look at the Middle East area, the way, you know, I would say that America wants to contain it. It's like a redrawing of the earlier containment policy of the US. As I pointed out earlier also, that there was, you know, we see Cold War being played out at different levels under different rhetoric or, you know, policies or policy statements. We're seeing this in the world. So when you and it's also a, you know, like Pantho very rightly pointed out that, you know, you can't, which I also agree with, you know, like that you can't rearm the world, and you can't have a contest of missiles and drones and see that and at the same time you can keep on saying that we are making peace deals, because trade, war, these, I mean, trade we welcome investments, okay, but at the same time when you are signing all these arms deals, who is it helping? I mean, in the India-Pakistan war also, we saw that how, I mean, it was like a test between which company is better, whether the Rafale was better or the Chinese weapons were better. And we saw how the stock markets or the demands for the sales of those went up and went down. So it was, many people say that they were trying to, you know, different companies were trying to, you know, like test their weapon systems, but at what cost? At the cost of the misery of the people.
Right.
But coming back to the Iran thing, I would say that this is also, you know, like, okay, I welcome it, but at the same time one has to be very conscious and carefully observe, because we haven't seen the terms, we haven't gotten any statement from Iran as yet, and also see that what are the terms and conditions. And also, I mean, I think Iran also wants to come out of the kind of embargoes, economic sanctions that it is under, because it is putting Iran under tremendous economic hardships.
Right.
And also Iran wants to play a role in the international
regional Middle East
not
area.
only regional, global
Professor
politics.
Dr. Aminam Hussain, we have reconnected with Washington DC with Ambassador Norman Flood Barnes. Mr. Norman, can you hear me, Excellency?
Yes, I can, very much.
So
Thank
my
you.
question was your president.
I'm very.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I'm very intrigued by the comment of my colleague, particularly about Iran. We understand that Iran is under tremendous pressure with the sanctions. They need to be connected to the rest of the world to the point where they are willing to give up the weapons, well, not weapons, but basically nuclear weapons, the concept of nuclear weapons, for the ability to join free trade economic. So the situation is that they are more concerned, instead of war, they want to have economic freedom and growth and integration with the rest of the world. Free trade, development, all the stuff that we are enjoying. They will love to do that, and they are to the point where they are willing to give up, forego the nuclear deals, the nuclear weapons, for that whole point. So it's very interesting to see how this thing going to play out. I think we may have something emerge from this, depending on the conversations they have, hopefully in the next couple of days, with our current administration. I think we're going to have a breakthrough.
Mr. Norman, I will have one supplement with this statement that Mr. Trump has expressed his concern about Middle East, that Middle East should join West for the security issues he has given actually a hint that if you want to secure yourself, you have to be allies with the West and you have to be cautious about the trade deals with China. See, the reality, the logical approach is without China, Middle East cannot continue their business. What do you think on this particular? I think we have lost the connection with the Washington DC. I want to come back to our international affairs commentator, Mr. Shamsul Alam Pantho. Would you mind to express your opinion on this, that Mr. Trump says if you want to secure yourself, you have to tie up with West, but be careful about the trade deals with China. What does it mean?
Thank you for your question. I will also relate to the Iran deal. During the fourth round of talk, US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas, the meeting of the fourth round of talks, the statement came as it was difficult but useful. So both sides are arriving at a conclusion they both can live with. Not only that, as far as technology and manufacturing goes, we know that the Chinese economy is the sleeping dragon and has made advancements in multiple fields, not only just weaponry, but if you say AI as well with DeepSeek, something that fights Sam Altman's OpenAI. So they are already competing where weapons aren't also involved. The US and China has been in competition mode for the better half of the last 15 years, and we can see that both countries are now trying to see which other economies will be benefited if they were to choose on their side. However, this sets a very bad notion for the future, as this will only lead to a long but distasteful Cold War.
Sir, I want to shift focus to Professor Dr. Ramana Mohsin regarding the Ukraine and Russia issues. You know, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul today. He is waiting for the meeting, and at the same time he is also waiting for the meeting and started peace talks with Vladimir Putin, Russian president, but
he is not there in attendance.
Kremlin did not yet confirm Vladimir Putin's visit to Istanbul. How it looks, how it sounds?
If I understood your question correctly, that Turkey is trying to broker a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I think you know, like if you look at Turkey's position, I mean, Turkey took a very clear position in the India-Pakistan war also, and like on the Iran question also, Turkey has a clear position. So it is understandable that in this region, Turkey is emerging as a factor, as well as an important actor.
He is becoming a big player in the region.
Yes, it's becoming a big player. It was a big player, and one does see, you know, declines, ups and downs, but it is emerging as a year. So Turkey, I think, is in that. I mean, is in a position because it where it can broker a peace deal, and I think that peace deal would be much more acceptable to at least to both the parties than what is happening at the moment, because with the Ukraine, I mean, it was the way Zelensky was treated in the White House, that was almost a betrayal of the Ukrainian people and the
humiliating.
It was humiliating and quite unacceptable. And the ironical part was that it was televised. So this is not something which I mean, one would expect. I mean, so I think we'll have to wait for that. But if it is done in a respectable manner, I think and acceptable to all the parties. But again, you know, like Mr. Kanchun, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that this war again was a war which was unnecessary. And this happens when you try to, you back up a country and then you don't. And let me come back to the point that you raised with him, that Mr. Trump is asking the Middle Eastern countries to be friends with America and to be careful of the deals with China. I would just like to remind you of the famous statement by Henry Kissinger. He had said that, to have America as an enemy may be dangerous, but to have it as a friend is fatal. So we need to, because Ukraine went into this war knowing America is backing it. But what happened? I mean, you need to have reliable partners. And in war, in international relations, we have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. It's our national interests which guide us. And so I think it's time that the world, I mean, what we call the global south. Of course, the global south is also differentiated. It's not that everyone is at the same level. And there is no global north also now, because there are so many differences between, like the way Trump has dealt with the European countries and the North American countries also, with Canada particularly. So, how much, I would leave it up to the wisdom of the leaders of the Middle Eastern countries, given America's present attitude towards Canada, towards Europe, to understand and comprehend whether they can take the US as a reliable partner or not.
This is the specialties of a professor. I was listening just like a very loyal students, the way she was describing the entire situation of American policy. I want to just add one more comment from a CNN commentator. He said, if America guides you in the right direction, your job is to follow the left direction, because there are diplomacies. We are running out of time, but I want to come back to Pantho again. There is another breaking, I should not say breaking news, it's a kind of confusing news I have just received right this moment. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese emphasized the importance of countering Russian influence in Indonesia as they prepared of critical talks in Jakarta with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto. See, that part of this world was in peace position. Now we see the Russian influence in Indonesia, and Australia is encountering. Do you find the smell of another conflicts between Australia and Russia?
I would like to end my speech on a very short notice here. However, it is a alarming issue, as you've raised. The Indonesia, New Zealand, Australia, this bloc has relevantly been very peaceful. I would definitely not want this peace to be attacked by the likes of Russia. However, we should avoid regional conflict. Southeast Asia, as you know, is a very big contributor to the Asian economies, especially Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Japan. So I would try to make a point that they should avoid any kind of confrontation, and that dialogue should be their number one step forward. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank you, both of my distinguished guests in the studio, Professor Dr. Ramena Mohsin and International Affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, and also Ambassador Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington DC, though we have got some interruption also in connections. We are at the last part of the program. Before I conclude, I would like to say today is a 15th May International Family Day, highlighting the importance of family units in the society. Celebrations and events are taking place worldwide to honor this day. Please give time to your family to build a prosperous family. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow.